Hello.
I think. No.
Welcome everybody. Tonight we're closing the exhibition of The Circle by Dutch Invertuals, curated by Wendy Plom, who is here. So if anything goes wrong, she can correct us, hopefully. We're joined by Satomi, Carla Joachim, Jan Schimmel and Morene Schweikle, who will fill us in a little bit about their work for the exhibition, what they're doing now, and what they're planning for the future. Maybe I would like to start with asking you to introduce yourselves a little bit. If we can start with Satomi.
Okay. Thank you for having me for a talk. I'm Satomi. I'm a designer from Japan, and after working, graduated from Design Academia in Eindhoven. My design approach is to develop the concept into the object with this graphic perspective to explore the materials, explore a new harmony between materials and colors and shapes. And my project for this exhibition is the leather path, which you can see there on the ground, and which is called inflatable leather. Yeah.
Can we hear Carla?
Yes. Yeah. Does it work? Okay. So my name is Carla Joachim. I'm part of the studio Joachim Moreno. So we are two designers from France. We graduated from Design Academy 2 years ago, and we have our studio base now here in Eindhoven. We are kind of like multidisciplinary, hard work, and we work mainly around like craft, technology, and industrial processes. So that's a bit what we do in general.
Boys.
Exactly. Okay. So, like Sebastian said, this is Jan Schrimmel. I'm Morene Schweikle. We collaborate under the name Schrimmel and Schweikle. So we have a studio in Eindhoven, and we do design projects which are furniture-based, sometimes installation-based. And our approach is always to somehow look how the digital space and the physical space influence each other. And in that realm, we look for mechanisms how we can take an object, like you, for instance, here in the exhibition see our chair, where we took a simple office stool, then take that into the digital space, apply digital mechanisms to it, and then through a lot of time 3D printing, reintroduce it into the physical space. So we're always interested in these like mechanisms that connect these two areas or worlds. Yeah.
Top. Hey, and you are all new, or relatively new, Dutch Invertuals. How did that happen, and what is Dutch Invertuals for the people who don't know here in the room? Maybe Moreno.
Okay. Dutch Invertuals is, I think you can say, a collective that's ever changing, ever evolving. It was initiated or founded by Wendy Plom, who is in the audience. And the idea is, like, the infrastructure of it is that Dutch Invertuals continuously does exhibitions around certain topics, like in this exhibition, The Circle. And then they also do, throughout the year, commission projects where they invite artists and designers to work together with a company and to connect to the industry. And the way we got to it was basically through being invited by Wendy to join the exhibition, and then, yeah.
And she scouted you during the graduation show of the Design Academy or
exactly.
something.
Yeah.
All right. And this exhibition, The Circle, the theme is a circle, and I think Wendy asked you to make an interpretation on the shape of shapes, the beginning of all shapes and the end of all shapes. Is that normally a way how you work? You get an assignment and then you are sparked or interested by that idea and you make something for that? Carla?
Yeah, so the same, we got also asked by Wendy, and I think it was a good opportunity we decided to do like something new. I was a bit short on timing, but we all like challenges. I think it's a bit always like this, you also have a theme and it kind of helps you to create or have a kind of a guideline, that you don't start from nothing. And for us, is the piece that you have behind Satomi's work, so that's the plates, the ceramic plates. We actually use our dripping machine that we created during our graduation. So it's a machine that basically drip any kind of material. It's kind of a low-tech 3D printer, kind of like hack into the way how can we produce ceramics in a completely different way. And we're kind of trying to question with this idea of the circle, because we can drip, so we can basically do like small dots that have the perfect size between themselves because it's made by a machine. So we were trying to question a bit what is the boundary, or how can we create a circle without really to make a circle. So we kind of use our machine to create something just new for it.
And this machine you used for 2 series before, right? You created
Yeah.
open ceramic structures with them, and also also graphical patterns with glazing.
We kind of like experimented a lot with the machine, so it's a bit like fun to do. And we realized that just by the dripping, we can do a lot. So as you mentioned, the open structures. So we create ceramic that are completely open, and they stand by themselves just by like, it looked like kind of spider webs a bit. We also did some pattern. We also sell a lot of cups. Probably some people saw it in the Z-Bar and everywhere.
And here in Bend.
Yes, and here at Benz. So we can make patterns that quite, even if it's made by machine, that look quite unique. And after this kind of third research was the idea of making like texture. So if you see the plate, you can feel really the dots continuously, and you can really feel it also. And it's because like the dots are made first, and then we cover it by your layer. So that's the.
And is that generally a way that you guys like to work in, to create a machine to do the work for you? Or is there more in store for this dripping machine?
It was kind of to question a bit, when we want to produce project, quite a lot of project, like I would say mass produce, but no, mass produce, then how to give them kind of a unique touch. And this machine was a bit to help us to do that. So we can make the same items almost like 1,000 times, but they will never ever look the same because you have always like a glitch, or they look quite handmade. And it's never ending project. We also, as soon you can just research even more how to make them more like continuously sustainable, or how can you make there is a lot to do with it, and that was quite fun, I think, to also, it's a lot like doing, researching and then doing and trying new stuff.
Boys, a question for you. When you just touched upon it yourselves as well, but your work is kind of quoting you, bridging the gap between the physical and the digital realm. Is this a recurrent theme in your work? Do you try to?
Yeah, that's definitely a recurring theme, I would say. As Moreno explained already, the chair that you see there was sort of the first pieces where we really started to use digital toolkits and see what would happen if you use a digital toolkit to create a shape instead of going from a material, because if you have a material you are always restricted by the properties of that material, so the shape somehow is defined by the process. And we found that in the digital space everything is shapeless, everything can morph into each other, so you have a lot more freedom. And what we did for this object is we really designed something digitally and then tried to recreate it with new technologies as 3D printing and CNC milling, try to recreate what we have in the screen. But for our last show, which is called The Tree Full of Splinters, which we did this summer, we also tried to, again, go back to the material and then go into the digital world and make the bridge, go a lot from the digital stuff to the physical stuff and back. So we start with a wood sculpture that we chiseled, and then we 3D scanned that, and then we 3D printed. So we try to make the both techniques talk to each other more.
Now you're working on something at the moment for the Dutch Design Week, or any plans for?
Well, we just
Milan.
had the show that I talked about. We just finished that, so we were very busy on that. And now, for now, we are starting with new works, and we have Yeah, we're doing some works in somewhere at the end of November. We're doing a new iteration of the Tree Full of Splinters project. And yeah, I'm gonna start off experimenting again with new techniques and new stuff.
Dope. Do you think playing with this digital aspect in your work also makes your work future-proof?
Future-proof. I wish. Well, I guess, I hope not, I guess, because then that would mean that we already know what is happening in the future now, and I'm very excited what kind of new techniques will spring up in 20 years, which will probably, yeah, I'm very excited about that, to then try these new techniques and make new works about that. But we do always think about the future, like in our concept, like because the digital and the physical world, they're getting closer and closer together. So in our work, we always try to construct mechanisms that allow us to move fluently from this one world to the other world, as if the bridge were already closed, to then see what kind of new shapes evolve and how we look at the way we design shapes. So yeah.
All right. So tell me,
Yes.
what have you been working on lately? How have you experienced the lockdown?
Yeah, the lockdown. Right before lockdown, I was in Japan and working on new project to collaborate with Japanese artisan. So yeah, it was very interesting moment, because I immediately had to go back to Netherlands, and then and during lockdown, I realized that the many things became digital and less. Also, during lockdown, I didn't have enough material, so it's more, my work is more less touching materials and more get into digital. So it was very quite impactful for my work.
And now you're back here. Any plans for the Dutch Design Week? Or?
No, I don't have a plan for coming Dutch Design Week, but and maybe next year I will have an exhibition for a new project.
Does the audience have any questions? I think we're with such a small company that I really would like to open up the conversation as well a bit. So far.
Designers are thinking about putting this on a location where it should be, where it could continue, and maybe also how can we, because you are not presenting during the Dutch Design Week, so I'm really wondering who is going to present during the Dutch Design Week, because I think a lot of people as Dutch Invertuals is going to present. So we will show a new exhibition. So I was wondering who all are going to be part of the Dutch Design Week, or would like to join, or how it lives, or if it's excellent.
I think Carla has some plans.
Yeah, after the lockdown, we had some time to think about, what do we do and what is the future of our studio. And we've been working a lot with ceramics on a smaller scale. So we use the Dutch Design Week as an opportunity to showcase a new exhibition in our studio. So we have a warehouse in Stripe T, after Van Berlo and next to the studio of Mickey Meyer and Daphna Lorenz. So we decided to go bigger scale. So we are presenting completely new work, out of actually metal pieces. So it's completely different scale, just to show a bit what can we do also, and to show different skills from what we do. Instead of just doing a research, we are trying to present furniture pieces. So you're welcome to come in SEPT to see our exhibition later on.
All right, and there's more designers in the room. Well, of course, it's a difficult time also to present your work physically. This exhibition, I think, was made for the Salone del Mobile in Milan of 2019.
Yeah.
And then it was on show during the Dutch Design Week. And then it traveled here with the idea to have it on show for a little longer than just a festival week. But just before the opening, the lockdown was imposed in Brabant. So we could only communicate about the works in the exhibition via our online channels, which was really a sad story. But I think it's also a new reality that we have to move into. Are you thinking about this, how to present your work in this new world?
I could say for me, like, as I kind of relate to Satomi, we do a lot of like physical work, you know. That's, I mean, since we just reproduce, we make, we like people to see, to touch, to see the scale, so we also have to think a lot a bit like how do we present our work now, because we are not per se used to completely do it digital. So, like, I mean, of course, we use a lot of social media, you know, like we're trying to do like kind of teaser of post of whatever to kind of like present, but yeah, we kind of hope, I don't know, it's a bit weird times for us, so we're trying to hope that actually people can see our exhibition in real life, because that's how we are, I think, the best to communicate.
Yeah.
But, you know, they are trying now to do also the 3D virtual space, like they may be thinking you can actually enter virtually the space. That's, I don't know how they will do it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was for us also when we were preparing our show that we showed in Antwerp. Then the gallery also asked us, because it wasn't sure yet if there was going to be opening with the lockdown, if there could even be a show. He was like, yeah, you're the digital guys, right? Maybe you could do a digital show or something. But yeah, we thought about it, and yeah, we really didn't like that, because our work is really about experiencing these digitally inspired or these sort of morphed objects in real life, where you almost have an uncanny effect, and where you then get to thinking like, what is the presence of the digital world in our lives? And so we really didn't like it if we could only show it online, because that would ruin the effect or even the whole concept in a way.
The thing is, the whole circle idea, the whole exhibition was about connectivity and to make change in a way and show that the circle stands as an emblem of connectivity. So sometimes I'm also wondering that maybe this time is more time to communicate and time to connect, and also connect more digitally in a way, and try to find a way to show things in a digital perspective. Because for now, as far as I can imagine, is that this will not change. We don't go back anymore to normal. So we need to be forced ourselves to find a different way to show our works or communicate. So I think digital will be getting very normal to communicate with more and more. Because I can imagine that people are working designers are working so physically and really want to show and to touch and communicate together with the visitors.
And is Dutch Invertuals working on a concrete plan to make some more digital presentation concepts happening?
Yes, we're working on that. But that's not easy, because all of a sudden you have two exhibitions at the same time. So it's not getting easier, because you want to know how to present yourself digitally. You know how you can create an exhibition physically. So digitally it really becomes another perspective, and how do we want to communicate. We did more things digitally, but I think what is nice about the digital, if you can do things which is not normal. You can do things which you cannot do physically. So I think that's a great new form language and very rich to work with. But it's really, I think we need to grow in how to connect it, and that's not all the same. It's not all zeitgeist, or not all the same kind of style. So it's really interesting to see other styles. But I don't want to be, maybe I'm so negative, but I'm very positive about it. Really, I'm excited to see what will happen next, you know.
But it is a difficult time, especially for designers who are working so explicitly with materiality and tactility, like maybe actually the three of you. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, Satomi? How?
Yeah, I think it's from Corona crisis, we have to think about the balance between digital and the real. It's I believe that the real tactility cannot be beyond the digital quality. How can I say the cannot beyond. So still, I think we as a human we need tactility in front of you as an experience. So I think at least on digital have to how should I say, it's very important to how interactive on screen as well.
Maybe this physical aspect will become more important.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. Even on digital, I think human needs to interaction between, connection between each other.
You wanted to react to that?
Yeah, I was just thinking, indeed, because also tapping in on what Wendy said is that, sure, also especially to our work, the physical part is vital and you can't replace it with showing it digitally. But one thing I think also we realized is that, you can approach it in a different way because, for instance, in digital space, you sort of have unlimited space and time, and it's maybe more about, to bring it down to an example, less about showing the final result, which you would show physically, let's say, but more take your viewer into the process of how, or the methodology, or like feed more into the research. And what I mean is just that you can approach it in a different way. It's not like a digital installation, but
and I also think that needs to happen because, like, showing stuff digitally is nothing new. We have been doing that for the last 20 years. We all have our Instagram, so we're all very used to having documentation of a certain event. But the question is now, how can you lure the audience in and give them more of an experience than they feel like they're looking at the documentation of a real event? How can you make the digital event in a way that it becomes a new experience and is actually a reason to go to the screen instead of outside?
Yeah, exactly, that it stands for itself and not just becomes a teaser to go to the exhibition, but that it's actually a new chapter on it, or a part of the work, let's say, that you then can also only have in digital space, because you have different properties, different characteristics.
I actually think it's super challenging. I mean, it's more like the learning methods that we actually all have right now. We have to adapt to it. And I see for myself, we all have like our own studio. So, you have to be designers and businessmen. And, now we also have to I think it's super challenging. It's also, I say, super interesting. But it's like new challenge to how to showcase your work, or how to use it as a tool and not just being like, oh no, I have to do it. So that's
it's also a whole new job that's added to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for a lot of, it's almost for everybody. Everybody becomes its own manager and its own promotional person and whatever.
But at the same time, it's very we can have a more chance, I think, because digital can more, you can reach easily.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any more questions from the audience? Yes.
So my work is also like to me, like I make something that people need to touch, and I mainly make tools for children's working situation, which means they actually need to touch and they need a person next to them. So it's really all about connection. And then during the quarantine, there was one exhibition planned, and then it was a workshop, and then they canceled, and then they told me maybe you can make this thing into digital somehow. So I was working on that, and then recently I changed the whole concept of my project. So now I'm not like using this like the object anymore, but I try to make the video. And recently I realized that the sound can be a lot of the stimulation. It's kind of a new inspiration for me. So I work on that a lot. So I wonder, like during the quarantine, is there any new inspiration? Like area that you find, something like that?
So you're asking, you're saying that you have altered the project with new inspiration that you got, especially from quarantine, and you're asking if any of you guys experience the same.
I would say for us, for the new collection we are making, the inspiration came from not traveling. So we actually watch documentary sometimes, to get your mind away, because that's a bit, like in Europe, we used to travel a lot. I mean, I had the feeling you can go anywhere, come back to even your family is also abroad. And we used to watch some videos, and then we actually got inspired by Roman architecture, this kind of typical architecture that you can see in Rome, and just sometimes by seeing something that is there for a lot, I don't know, for us, we got inspired by some actually architectures that was there from way behind, and you just have to see them, but then we saw them on a screen. So that was a bit, traveling by not traveling, let's say.
I have to confess, I've been traveling on Google Earth a bit during the quarantine. There's a project of Emma Verhoeven. I don't know if you remember it, VRcation, that has become very relevant these days. Is there more questions from the audience? Yes, in the back.
New audiences, that more people see your work worldwide.
I have to rephrase your question so the people at home can hear it. So Jelena is asking if you feel like you're reaching new audiences in this digital realm.
Yeah, I would say definitely, obviously more international audiences, and mainly through Instagram. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's new now to the Corona crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The design world has been very global already for many years.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe people do go on the internet more to look for inspiration or to get their creative fix, so to speak. So maybe in that sense, I don't know, I haven't looked at the insights or the statistics yet, but could be. Yeah.
But there is a gap to dive into there. I think there is an opportunity to reach a lot more people digitally than you could ever reach physically. I'm curious to see how that will pan out in the design world.
I noticed that during the lockdown, I got extremely active and wanted to talk with everybody. And really gonna meet everybody on Skype and how are you, what is going on, how do you feel, I really wanted to connect a lot and feel like how everybody get things done and how they keep on working in the way they do already. But I also noticed that a lot of designers got a little bit stuck in a way like, hey, I did it like this, and I can't do it like that anymore. So I also noticed like sometimes we're so used to work in a certain way, we lose the flexibility and be creative in a way. So we also need to imagine that we have a certain rhythm or in the daily work base. But so I was wondering, how do you approach it? Are you open-minded enough to really say like, hey, I approach it always like this, can I approach it another way? So how do we look to this creativity approach, creativeness? I think that's the most important thing for a designer, to find solutions and find different opportunities. And should we not be all the creators who find not the solutions, but more like see other opportunities? Or do we just only want to be a superstar designer who focus on what we did and like fuck Corona and I need to sell this?
So actually, you're saying should we not reconsider our job and be more of a service designer, interface designer?
Everybody is so focused on their way of working, and we are all super creative. So what you're doing, you can also do it in a different direction. So which is maybe working better in this kind of time or in the future. So I was wondering, are we all that creative, or are we?
Actually, you have two kind of persons. The one got stuck, and the one like you. You were like, no, we're gonna do this. I was the stuck person. She was the, oh, we're gonna do an academy online. I thought, no, it's not gonna work. So are you the stuck person, or were you like, yay?
For us, to be honest, we had a bit this, like, we used to sell a lot. Just, we make cups, we sell them in shops, in restaurants, and of course, after the lockdown, the shops are closed, the restaurants are not open, so not going to spend, let's say, any money on you. So we were at this moment of like, okay, should we think about like, yeah, how do we do? How do we want to promote ourselves, or how do we want to actually be as a designer? Because now we are depending on so much on them, and then they also got stuck. So we were stuck at the beginning, and then we were trying, okay, like we need to move from it, because otherwise it's not going to happen. And then, the solution that we actually find for now was the Dutch Design Week. We were quite lucky to be, in Eindhoven still and have the opportunity to showcase our work. So that's what we use for now as a short-term solution to work on the Dutch Design Week, and to say, okay, let's instead of depending on showcasing our work somewhere else, can we not doing in our space? Like then we take the lead of, like it's our space, we can do whatever we want. So that's what we try to do actually, for not depending too much on others, but try to showcase ourselves directly.
We have to find new ways in this new world.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in a way you're connected with the whole world. So nothing stops you in a way, So you can make connections and find new ways to create works. Or of course, it's not like just giving you a play. It's more that in a way it's like the open play field. So and I feel like we are all sometimes a bit like where's the creativity? That's a bit like, hey. To just push each other to another mindset.
You had a question as well. Sorry, behind you.
Yeah, I had a question for Steven. You talked about how, like, when you work with digital media, that's kind of your limits. Like, you can do what you want. I also work with digital media, and usually I have the same mindset, but when I'm actually working, I come across some problems. and it's so frustrating. Has there been examples of when you've done projects where you want to do something more, you have this limitless, but you come to problems, and if that's impacting the project negatively, positively?
Like in the workflow.
Yeah, the workflow doesn't go wrong. That thing that you think about thing, like, we always see this like outcome and that's the process.
So I have to rephrase the question still. I'm trying to for the people at home. So what you're asking is you have this limitless space in the digital realm. The space where actually nothing can go wrong, but does something sometimes go wrong that we don't see.
Definitely. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is that there's usually always quite an anticlimax when you start going into the real world, you know, because of course the beauty of the digital space is that everything works in a way, but then when you start materializing, that's also the challenge then of course for us, that you start to prove it and see if it works. And one development we took in our career so far, let's say, is that we, instead of blindly trusting what you see on the screen, try to really go more back and forth. So to say, not just come up with something completely in the computer and then start materializing, but more start with a material, then we use a lot of like scanning. So we scan that object, we take it in, we modify it, we take it out again. And that really, I think, liberated our workflow. And sure, we run into problems, but it's a different type of problem because you don't have this, either it looks like a render or it doesn't, but you're more re-evaluating all the time, you know what I mean? Yeah. Right?
And Maud, you had a question?
Yeah, but I'm also very interested now in what kind of problems you come across then. Because,
Usually when I want to do a project, like, the idea is I'm excited because it's something that I'm not usually done before. Like, it's this new technology, for example, it's inform, and I like working with social media, but if I'm not like familiar with the software, it's quite difficult to get your head around it. Like, at the moment I'm doing like organic shapes and software and that stuff, because I've only usually done geometrical things for like industrial design. So so for me it's more like I don't necessarily always like to adapt to the software. I want sometimes to always get what I want, but the software doesn't always see that. But I want to just like see if that's something to embrace on.
We definitely also have that on a technical level, for sure, a lot, and then YouTube, or like definitely, a lot of the time, long Googling and also having each other. Then sometimes you run into a problem and you don't see the solution, and then the other guy comes in and for some reason has a different angle to it.
And we see also the digital work really as a craft, so we also accept that in a way we are amateurs, we are new to this, and we also try to embrace this aesthetic, just as if you're new to woodworking, your woodwork looks different than an expert who has been in this field for 50 years. But that's what we also like as our role as designers, is that we can explore all these fields and we're not necessarily looking for the perfect aesthetic, but more researching the methodology and also what our position towards this digital media means by working on it and not being afraid to fail or to make the perfect looking object.
And what do you do then when your idea doesn't match the program that you work with, or like you said, do you change your idea then, or do you search more ways to make it work?
Can you repeat the question in your answer?
So the question was, what happens if, how I understood it, the software doesn't do what you want it to do, or the result from the software isn't in line with what you had in mind? That's a good question. Well, in the last show, what we did a lot is that we also let the objects from the real world dictate how we work with it in the digital world. So one object that we made was a stool, where we took half a tree trunk and we chiseled that out and made half a stool, and then we 3D scanned it, and then we mirrored it in the computer and 3D printed the other part and then put them together. And then we really liked that the limitations of 3D scanning, the limitations of 3D printing, the limitations of the computer interpreting the shape showed up in the other half. So then, then we let the imperfections of the computer speak in the object itself. So it becomes more of a conversation between us and the computer. Then it becomes us telling the computer what it needs to do. And if it doesn't work, we get into a fight or something. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Just like in real life that every tool sort of leaves its mark on whatever you work on, we also try to see what Janis said in the computer, to see it as a tool and 3D printing as well. And if there's a bug because the 3D printer just needs to jump a little bit, then we don't see that as a problem, but just as a, a character, just the evidence of that tool that has been used. So, yeah. So in that sense, it also helps a lot, because I think we're very used to that when we work in the physical space, like what I said, that a certain tool influences the object, and that kind of knowledge really helps us working in digital space. Yeah. Because also my preoccupation with digital space is that everything is sleek and perfect and superhuman, but of course it's not. It's like, it's just like physical tools in a way.
Yeah.
Any questions for the other designers, for Carla or Satomi? No?
I was wondering how you look upon the extra time that you got, because maybe deadlines passed away, or I say that they didn't continue because of quarantine, or did you start to look at things that you always wanted to do still, or you actually like the deadlines because they make you productive, or how do you see the time that you got?
So Maud's asking, we have so much extra time these past months. What did you do with it? Satomi.
Yeah, I always need a structure for, I need a deadline always. So it was quite tough. There were some project was just to postpone the deadline, which we cannot know when it is. So, and then it's very struggle how much I can make progress until when. So, but I try to put the deadline by myself to continue my work, that what I really want to focus on. So still working, but it's taking longer time than usual.
Yeah, I agree. We also because we just moved actually before the corona to a new space, so it was a good time to actually take some time to make our space. So like more making our studio looking like a studio. So that was good, and of course, we had to be the same. We had the feeling we have to keep ourselves busy with minor stuff, even if we don't really need. So we make some stock about ceramics. So we've been producing ceramic like maniac, even if there is no needs for it. But in case that something, in case there is a need for it. But yeah, I think it's a bit the same. We like the deadline, like the same. Dutch Dynamic is in 5 weeks, and then we haven't started. It's like this, I think, a bit, but. It was good also to a bit reflect on stuff, because sometimes you have been working crazy for the past years, and then when you stop, you're like, oh, okay, what am I doing actually? What is
Designers love deadlines. I think that's quite a nice note to kind of round up the evening, because we have a deadline as well. I would like to really thank you for being here, and also the other designers that have exhibited their work here, Andy Blom, the curator, Daphna and Laurens, for the beautiful exhibition design. You can walk around if you haven't done it yet. And let's continue the conversations at the bar. The exhibition is still on show until the 8th of October, and then we're really going to break down and build up for the Dutch Design Week. All right.
Thank you.